Hi there folks, and welcome back to the Wisdom episodes. This is number 6, and today we're talking about who am I? Am I a human? Am I a man? Am I a person? Am I a citizen? When we get born into this world, we become flesh and blood, but you would never necessarily call your body you. You say, "Hi, I have a body," as we've spoken in the other episodes. So you have a flesh and blood. You're born as flesh and blood, but the flesh and blood is not you. You're the observer. You're the one, the consciousness within that. So you're not a cheese sandwich, for example. You know that. I'm not a cheese sandwich. I'm not my hand. I'm also not my hand. My hand is a part of me. So if I eat the cheese sandwich, then do I become the cheese sandwich or a part of the cheese sandwich? Well, in essence, everything's made of energy, and there's a communication between different levels and dimensions of energy that nourish each other. It's kind of like the chain cycle of life, how things go. So we get born into this world as flesh and blood, but we've also got an image and a sound. We've got heartbeat, we make sound. So we've got a flesh and blood body, and we've got a light and sound body. Obviously the light and sound body is connected to us, but when we're born, we get given a name, we get personified, so to speak. So what happens there? Okay, take this cup for example. This is a cup. It's like solid, and it's liquid as its function. Okay, so this is just a cup. It's nothing. But if I suddenly kind of draw a face on there like that, it's suddenly hello world, it's suddenly got a persona. And then, like, okay, hi there Mr. What we're going to call it? Let's call it Dink the cup family. He's from the family of cups, so we'll call him Dink Cup, or Dink of the family cup. And he's solid and liquid, and he's got a name. He's called Dink. So let's write down his name. This is what his mother writes down. Then she writes down Dink. That's his name then. Okay, so he's from the family cup, so we write in cup. So that's his now his name. And then comes along the government people or whoever, and make up a birth certificate, and then that becomes your official person, your legal person. And then they come along, make a social security account for your whole funds that's like a part of the whole national trust, and that goes then in capital letters, Dink Cup. You see, it's written in capital letters for a lot of different reasons. You can find that in the law things and that. But these are not exactly the same name, but they're connected because it's all pointing to the same person. So if I was Dink, if I'm Dink, you see, the idea of having a light and sound body, the sound body would be the name spoken. Hello Dink. That's like the sound. If you wrote it down, if you want to exist in that level of sound and light, you need to be able to kind of communicate through words or through letters. And so if you write a letter, you're addressing it to a certain person, and you're also coming from a different kind of capacity, a different kind of you. For example, if you was writing a letter to your boss to complain about the work situations, you'd be using Mr. dear Mr. A formal writing, and you would be talking as if you was one of the employees. You know, you wouldn't start talking like your auntie or your uncle or whatever. And so you if you're writing a love letter, you would never write dear Mrs. blah blah, or Miss in that case, dear Miss blah blah blah, you know, signed Mr. blah blah. You never write Mr. Cup, you know. You would write then, you know, lover boy or whatever at the bottom. So you'd have names. She'd know who you were. She, you know, when your dog comes up, it calls you Wolf, and you know, when your mother calls you, she calls you son. You know, these examples. You have lots of different names, but these official names have been created as like kind of accounts, like a community social networking account. You know, you have your photo in there, you write your text in there, people can see your light presence. Obviously someone can hack into your account and pretend to be you, and the same thing can happen on paper, but what is written on paper is at least your testament, your will, you see. So, you know, there's a lot you can do with paper and pen. You know, you can put your musical ideas onto paper, or your poems, or your thoughts. You can communicate with people. So all of this inner realm, this invisible, the you, the true you, the intent, the one who watches consciousness even, the you that's watching your hands and the you that's in there, that's the one that never actually manifests itself in flesh, blood, or light or sound. It can only kind of touch those things, you know. And the way that we can travel through light, like I said, is on paper and pen. You know, if I turn the light off, then you know, you're not going to read it. So that's how it travels through light, if you get my gist. And so there's a kind of an authenticity behind these names. They have to be authentic, otherwise anybody could use these names. So when you're 18, especially, you get to the age of consent, where you take control over your own person, so to speak. Until the age of 18, your mother and the government, or your parents and the government, are responsible for your person, your legal person. So if you do anything wrong, they're liable for it, because of the trust agreement between the government, your parents, and you being a beneficiary, because you obviously didn't have the capacity to sign, you know, at birth, your own document. So your mother signs for you. You reach 18, the age of consent and the age of capacity and the age of voting and everything. And at that point, you can create your own autograph. So, you know, Mr. Cup here, I'm Dink. Yeah, he can sign then. He can put a seal. He can put like a coffee ring. That might be his seal. That's really all he needs, is an authentic enough seal. You know, it has to be a unique seal that's like Mr. Dink Cup has got then. But he can also write his name as an autograph. So then Dink, you know, like everyone's got like a signature, sign, signature. See, this would be for aliens, because they don't use our language. So in order for an alien to authenticate himself and his persona, his light body, his intent, his will of intent, travelling on this flesh and blood, paper and ink format, his will is in this logos, in the logos, in the leg, in the word, in the legality, in the law, in the writing, in the words, blah blah blah. So all of this sort of is a realm, the realm of light, movement by light. When we're speaking, it's similar, because we're still using words. But in law, seeing is believing, which means that a spoken word can often be taken as hearsay, whereas a written testament is a lot more verified. I think it's something like 10 ear witnesses are worth one eyewitness or something. Anyway, like I say, you know, there's verbal consent, so you can, like, you know, agree to a contract verbally, but obviously this written contract is the basis of commercial law and basically all law that's going on in society. And so the governments and people and everybody have kind of forgotten the spiritual side, maybe, or whatever you want to call it, where we have this like invisible body that's not actually existent. It's like a will or intent that kind of has its invisible hand in the system, in the world that we live in, and that's us, our hand. I'm not talking about New World Order or Illuminati or outside forces. This is solely one person's persona, created for that person, you see. And so, because at birth you had this agreement with the government and your parents to look after you. When you reach the age of 18, obviously your parents are no longer responsible for you, or guardian. And so if you don't take full responsibility for yourself, the government has has the duty. Back in the ages, the king had the duty to look after the idiots and the infants and the people who weren't capable of looking after themselves. What maybe we call the sheeple. But obviously a lot of these laws and rules have been kept from us in order for us to remain the person, the Mr., the Mrs. And this title Mr., it's not just a like good manners, really. It's commonly good manners and it's formal, but the Mr. is also a title which basically means master of commerce, I think. I mean, a lot of the phrases, you can look them up for yourself, and it's very interesting. But anyway, to get back to the point about person, because you're presumed to be under the care of the government, then when anything happens, like if you drive too fast or anything else like that, then you're instantly treated as that person. But in actual fact, and we'll come into this later on, the person that they're dealing with is your light body and sound body, and not really the flesh and blood you. And so what happens, is we forget that we're this person that actually just floats around on bits of paper. And the thing is, while you're asleep, this bit of paper's still floating around. Same as this YouTube video. This person you're seeing now is my light and sound body. You can't touch the screen and touch my hand there, you'll touch the glass. But you know that I'm speaking authentically through this camera to you now. This is my person, or this is one of my persons. It's a persona, which in Latin means mask. Like I said before, if you write into your girlfriend, you put on a different mask than if you write into your chef, or to your mother and father, or to your... in every different situation, you address the person differently, and you're wearing a different hat, if you get what I mean. The light body, we need to get used to this idea that the light body travels and in different dimensions. And, for example, my legal person is out there now, in being. Anybody can address that. Anybody can be watching this video. Maybe I'm doing something else right now while this video is being played, but my light body is here right now in this moment, in this medium. So if you get me gist, I'm just going off on one. Anyway, so the 14 minutes is nearly over, and I'll be going into more about the person. And I wanted to go more into the practical uses of the light and sound body rather than going into like the spiritual level. But both levels are very similar and parallel, so it's very worthwhile, all the spiritual people, in my honest opinion, getting, for example, a Black's Law dictionary and reading terminologies and checking them out, because it's the ultimate science of intent, and you'll enjoy it. Okay. Yeah, look in the back as well, there's some brilliant maxims of law, and if you read them you can see that, it's just like Zen parables, or it's just like, words of wisdom, and the Testament, the Bible, and all of these books, again, they're written by pens, and just before we finish, I just would like to mark out, because we're on the subject of wizardry, is that this is the most powerful magic wand on the planet. On this planet. Maybe not other planets, but this is a blue ink pen. And if you've got one of these, then, you know, you can do your will. Alright, so bear that in mind, and like I say, I'm going to put up a new series maybe on like laws, not just the law, but all kinds of laws, musical laws, mathematical laws, legal laws, and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I'll shut up now and subscribe and have fun and comment and all that lot. And if you've got any ideas, just throw them in. I'm just speaking this off the top of my head, you know, with a little bit of pre-thoughts, but so I'm going to have to watch this back and see how I've done, see how my person's done. Cheers.